Yo, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Sam from Team SamuraiX1 here. Happy Wednesday! Today's gonna be the updated Cyber Dragon OTK deck profile for the July 2021 ban list. And not only is this a update on the deck profile, but it's also a top 32 YCS deck list. So this deck is powerful, it is very successful, and it does what it does best. It OTKs and is super duper strong, and I cannot wait to showcase this deck profile that I have for you guys today. So a huge shout out to James for coming on the channel today to guest upload his awesome updated Cyber Dragon deck profile. Alright guys, won't waste any more time, I'm gonna pass it on right to James for the deck profile. James, take it away.
Hey guys, so James here with the guest upload. So I recently topped the North American Remote Duel YCS with Cyber Dragons. I finished 13th after Swiss with a 9-1-1 record, and I lost in the first round of Top Cut, and so finishing top 32 overall in a 1900 man event. So I thought I'd bring a quick deck profile as well as some basic combos that you should know if you're new to this deck. And thanks Sam for featuring me on his channel. Now I actually have a YouTube channel of my own. It's called Hakuna My Data. I bring data related Yu-Gi-Oh content for competitive players, and I also bring some Cyber Dragon content in terms of tips, rulings, and replays. So consider checking me out and subscribe if you're interested in that sort of stuff. So let's just get right into the profile. Right, let's start with the main deck, and I'll try not to go too long, and so we can keep this brief so we can cover the combos. So we are of course playing the 3 core, the best card in the deck. The search on someone is mandatory. The 3 hers, primarily it is pitched for Galaxy Soldier to go into your Nova Infinity play. It does have a second effect where you can make it as a level 5 when it's special summon, although you're locked into machines if you use that effect, but I almost never use that effect. We do have the 2 Naxter, and then this can special summon, you know, a Nova or Infinity or Rampage in your grave, and primarily comes out of the deck by banishing the core and grave. We also play the 3 original Cyber Dragons. We are playing the Machine Dupe variant, of course, so that's why we played at 3, and it's at least a easy way of getting rid of something like Appaloosa or Mechaba. Some other light machines, we of course have the 2 Galaxy Soldiers to help you go into your Nova Infinity play, and we do play the 1 Jizakuru. It is all searchable through Repair Plant, and this is an easy way out to a lot of problematic monsters. And some other monsters in terms of hand traps, we do play the 3 Ash, and I do play 3 Imperms as well, so that rounds up 6 hand traps in the main. And of course, the final monsters are the part of the Dragoon package with the Dark Magician and Red Eyes, and of course the Red Eyes Fusion. And so, you know, this package, I have tried a lot without playing it, and it's still good, but I felt that the most competitively viable approach for Cyber Dragons was to include Dragoon after all. But if you don't want to play it, then that's totally fine. Don't run it if you don't like it. On to the rest of the spells, we do have the 3 Cyber Emergencies. So this is going to search your Cyber Dragon monsters. And so then we have also Repair Plan, which is sort of similar, but instead it can add any light machine as long as you have a Cyber Dragon engraved. So it's very useful to add that, you know, Galaxy Soldier or Jizakuru. We do have the Ref system, which is sort of like a Monster Reborn. For Cyber Dragons, it allows core to be a 1-card Dragoon, because you can search this with core, link the core into Homage, bring the core back with this, and then link those 2 into Anaconda, and then bring out Dragoon. And then you have 3 Machine Dupes. Very, very good card for enabling OTKs. Also really useful when you draw this with the target when you're going first, because then you can easily set up Infinity and Dragoon. And so it's certainly a great card to have. And of course the Overload Fusion, something that you will send off of Anaconda if you're not sending Red Eyes Fusion, allows you to go into Rampage for that really easy OTK. Next, some other spells. We do play 3 Pot of Prosperity. This deck can struggle with consistency issues, so being able to dig for more cards, especially when you get hand trapped, is very, very good. This card has saved me multiple times throughout the YCS and just in general when I play this deck. I know it's expensive, so you know, if you don't want to pay for it, then you don't have to play it, but it does certainly help. And then we also have the triple Forbidden Droplets. I was considering main decking Droll for this event, but I decided to just go with Droplet instead, because I really like this card, and you know, it's so good in terms of negation. And usually you can activate a normal spell card and then just chain this and then just send that spell card on the field as cost. That way you don't neg as much, but if you can pitch the hers, then it's actually kind of nice as well. And then some back row hate, we do have the 2 Lightning Storms and also the 2 Cosmic Cyclones. I was considering maybe triple Lightning Storms, but I liked having at least some form of quick play spell trap removal. I mean, Imperial Order is definitely a thing, and I get it. It's only 2 cards, but you know what? It's better than not having anything, I felt, and it really did actually come up, and it was just super clutch, and I really like this ratio. Lastly, for the traps, we do have the triple imperm, so super good card. It is good going first or second. You can also use it to shut down floodgates for a turn by setting it first, and just the hand trap or just the negation is also very useful as well, and I'm really glad that its popularity came back. And the last trap in the deck is also, or rather, of course, Cybernetic Overflow. Very good card, can pop multiple cards usually, and it does not banish for cost, it does not target. It's just a really good way out to, you know, back row cards or just problematic monsters too as well. And yeah, so that rounds up the main deck at 43 cards. Okay, so now let's cover the extra deck. So we have Almirage, Anima, Link Spider, Seeger, and Anaconda. So Almirage is there just to get your baby Cyber Dragon engraved so you can get your Repair Plant live. Anima, hers, and Nax are level 1, so make sure to make the habit of putting the Jizakuru or the Nibiru token under the opponent's extra monster zone so you can potentially suck it up. Link Spider, typically when you get Nibiru'd, it's on the summon of Nova, and so Nova will bring out a fusion machine monster. You can convert the Nibiru token into Link Spider and then go into Anaconda that way, and I'll show an example later in the video. Seeger is there to enable OTKs, right? It pumps that Rampage up to 42, and then Rampage is going to attack 3 times. And then Anaconda, really there to bring out Dragoon, but also Chimera Rampage. So this card is played even if you're not playing the Dragoon package. It is very integral to this deck. Then we have the 2 Nova and the 2 Infinity. So Nova, the second Nova can come up at times, I find, in more grindy games, and also if your opponent plays Maximus, which I did have an opponent that used the effect during my round 9, I believe, and so it can bring out a fusion machine monster, for example. And the second Infinity, it's because I like to bring back the Nova from grave with Naxxur and then go into my second Infinity. That way my Infinity has a negate on the summon because it would have a material. And we do play Zeus because, well, we do have Xyz monsters that can attack. Now the thing is, at most we'll have 4 materials with Zeus. It's not like the old Zodiac way, right? But another interaction with this is that if your opponent destroys a card, another card that you control, you know, you can actually attach hers to this from the deck. And then when you use Zeus's effect, you know, and you would also detach hers, and hers would trigger and add you a Cyber Dragon from deck or grave to hand. And then for the fusions, we do have Dragoon, our other boss monsters on top of Infinity, Chimera Rampage to enable those OTKs, and we have the Chimera Fortress. This is really good right now because of Zeus. You can Contact Fuse it away. You can also Contact Fuse away Mechaba as well, or the Jizakuru you give to your opponent. I also decided to play 2 Mega Fleet for this event because I suspected there would be a lot of Salamangrate and Sky Striker in the event, and this card can be quite useful against them. But the thing is, it never came up, and I think I would rather go back to playing 1 Mechaba by taking out one of the Mega Fleets. So that's it for the extra deck. Alright, so let's move on to the side. So we are starting out with the triple Nibiru. Like I said, I expected a lot of salad at this event, although I only went against one, and that was in the first round. And Nibiru is of course good against that deck, but you know, good against combo decks in general. I do have the 3 Droll, of course, quite mandatory at this point because of Drytron, and it is definitely very impactful if it resolves at least. And related to that, I actually also have the Ghost Spells. It did come useful against Drytron, but it's also good against the Tri-Brigade Revolt as well, of course, as long as they don't have an Aplusa on board. But it used to be 2 Dark Rulers, but I decided to switch at last minute to Ghost Spell, and it actually worked out really well for me. Then we do have some more back row hate on top of the 4 back row removal in the side, or in the main rather, so we have 7 in total. So that's a Harpy's Feather Duster, another Cyclone, and Red Reboot, so very, very impactful. And then some going first options. I have been playing Summon Limit for a very long time. It's very good in this deck because, you know, you set up your Infinity and or Dragoon, you have the Summon Limit. Typically it's very hard for your opponents to play through that if they don't have any back row removal. And then for your turn, you know, even if your board gets removed, for example, if you have the core, you can banish the core, special to Naxxur. Naxxur can bring out the Infinity, that's 2 summons, and then, you know, Infinity can suck up a monster that's in attack position mode. So, you know, pretty good. And then another going first option that I introduced a couple months ago on my channel was the Imperial Order. It's a card that can definitely screw us if we go into the grind game, but you know, the whole reason for playing this is so that we can sort of force our opponent into submission right away, because it's just a blow card, right? I mean, you already have Infinity and or Dragoon up, and then on top of that, if you have Imperial Order up, it's probably very hard for your opponent to play, and that's exactly what happened at the YCS. I flipped it against a Dogmatic Invoke Shaddoll player, and he just had to scoop, and it's a really good card. You know, personally, I think it should be banned, but, you know, we'll see. Alright, so that's it for the deck profile. So now let's move on to some basic combos with this stack. So let's just cover the first basic combo, which involves the Galaxy Soldier Hers play, so you can go into Infinity and Dragoon. So if you had a hand like this, you would normal summon the core, use its effect to search, and you're going to add that repair plant. Then you would link this off into a Mirage, and now that you have a Cyber Dragon Engrave, you could activate the repair plant to add a light machine. Now keep in mind guys, the requirement to have a Cyber Dragon Engrave, that is an activation requirement. So if your opponent DD Crows or called by the grave your only Cyber Dragon Engrave, once you activate this card, this is still actually going to resolve. Now at the same time, I like to make sure to ask my opponent clearly if they have anything on the summon of All Mirage, because if you summon it, you play the repair plant right away, you know, your opponent may say, oh, you know what, you didn't give me a chance to respond, I'm actually going to DD Crow that before you activate repair plant, which in that case, repair plant would now be dead. So to avoid those disputes, I make sure to clearly ask my opponent if they have anything at this point. But now, let's say they don't, so you use repair plant and you're going to add the Galaxy Soldier. So now you can pitch the Hers to special the Soldier, and you're going to go chainlink one Soldier, chainlink to Hers. That's typically how you do it. So Hers will add you a Cyber Dragon and Soldier will add you another Soldier. So now you're going to use Soldier's effect, pitch the Cyber Dragon, special the Soldier. You're going to go into Nova, and then you'll use Nova's effect, detach for cost, and then you can bring out Cyber Dragon in distance and special that. And at this point, you would now go into Infinity and then link these two into Anaconda. So now here, it depends on the situation. Let's say your opponent has no monsters on the field, or let's say they have one monster that's in attack mode that you could suck up with Infinity. Then if, you know, in that case, you can send the Overload Fusion. That way you can bring out the Khmer Rampage. You can send 2 Light Machine monsters from deck to grave, and this will attack 3 times for 63, and this for 25 per game. In other instances where your opponent does have other monsters on the field that, let's say, you can't quite get over, you could get over it with the Dragoon, using Red Ice Fusion, pop those monsters, hopefully it's enough for game, and then, you know, attack. And also if you can't kill them that turn, then it is better to bring out Dragoon, that way you have another negate up. So now let's revert back to the situation where we just summoned our second Soldier. Okay, so at this point we summoned our second Soldier, this is our 4th summon, and then we go into Nova. And now this is our 5th summon, so your opponent may feel inclined to drop the Nibiru here because they know Infinity is coming, which will have a negate. So let's say we get Nibiru here, and you get the Nibiru token. So now Nova will trigger Engrave, and you can bring out a Fusion Machine monster. And so, you know, this is where you can also have the Mechaba. Because I'm not playing in this exact list, I would have to bring out Rampage. You could send 2 Light Machine monsters from deck to grave, depending on what you may or may not have in the grave. But in this instance, let's just skip that. We're going to convert that token into that Link Spider. And then you will go into Anaconda. And the same thing, now you can bring out Dragoon with the Anaconda, so you can pop their Nibiru for 3000, and then if you were going second, you know, you would attack, and you know, it's a good amount of damage, and you can play through Nibiru pretty well in this deck. So next we're going to cover a similar lineup play, but with different cards, with Core and Machine Dupe, which is sort of your optimal scenario. So for example, you would start with the Core, and in terms of the search, it sort of depends. So if your opponent, let's say, does not have any set cards, but they have cards in their hand, so you suspect that they probably have hand traps, then I would consider searching something like Ref System, because, you know, obviously this can play through Nibiru quite easily, but it would allow for another extender. And also if the Machine Dupe got ashed, at least you can go into Anaconda with this and go into Dragoon. Another option is if your opponent has set cards, and maybe you're not confident, you can go through all of them this turn, and perhaps adding an Overflow to be able to pop them on, you know, the next turn rolls around. And that is also, of course, dependent on if Machine Dupe resolves, so you can have multiple pops. Another potential option in that same scenario, for example, would be maybe search something like Emergency, so you can add another Core, and so you can just have another follow-up play in case you're not confident that you can play through their sets. So in this example, let's just say we search the Ref System. And then next, you would of course play the Machine Dupe, and you're gonna just summon out the 2 Cyber Dragons. Then similar concept, you are going to go into Nova. So with this route, you actually go into the Nova on your 4th summon. So you could technically summon out Infinity as your 5th summon, and well, you know, you'd be able to stop Nibiru that way. But the thing is, I actually like to still go through with, you know, linking off the Core and using Nova's effect and just force out the Nibiru, because I know I can play through it. And another example I'll give you right now is, for example, let's say you actually do decide to go into Infinity, you go into All Mirage, and let's say in this example you're using Ref System to bring this back, and then go into Anaconda. Now the thing with this route though is that if you were planning on bringing out Rampage, you realize now that you actually only have one Cyber Dragon Engrave, and you can technically banish Infinity as well to bring out Rampage, but why would you do that, right? So if you needed Rampage in that situation, you actually still needed to resolve Nova's effect to get that Cyber Dragon Engrave, even though you had enough bodies to go into Anaconda. So let's just revert back just a little slightly, and so basically in the same situation, I would still link off the core, ask if your opponent has anything at this point. If they don't, then just keep, following through with it. And then you kind of end up in that same situation as my first basic combo. And now you can bring out the Infinity, or rather Anaconda, and you can bring out either Dragoon or Rampage. You have your materials here for the Overload Fusion if you need to go that route. Okay, so the final key lineup play you should know for this deck is sort of its grind gameplay, and it's when you do not control any monsters and your opponent does control at least one monster and you have a core engrave. So you would banish the core, and then you would typically special summon something like Naxxur. In terms of positioning, if your opponent does not have an attack position monster, then I like to summon Naxxur in attack mode so I can suck it up with my own Infinity. But let's just say your opponent does have an attack position monster, so we'll bring out the Naxxur in defense mode, and Naxxur we're going to target the Nova to special it. And if you don't play a second Infinity, then you can bring back the Infinity from the grave instead. But at this point, it puts your opponent in a spot where, let's say they have a card that can pop, they may feel inclined to do that here because they know Infinity will come out regardless, and that has a negate. So if they pop this, then you can bring out a Fusion Machine monster. But let's say they don't do that, we get to bring out our Infinity, and we do have a material here, so we do have a negate. And let's say we suck up our opponent's monster that's in attack mode, you can attack, and main phase 2, in main phase 2 you could even consider going to Zeus. You are locked into machines because you use Naxxur's revival effect, but Zeus is a machine, and so if your opponent's sort of like a normal summon reliant kind of deck, this might make more sense in terms of rather than having just a Omni negate. Sort of depends on the situation. Now another example with this route is that, let's say you actually have a Chimeric Rampage Engrave that you properly fusion summon. So if this came out of Nova's effect, you cannot revive it with Naxxur because it was not properly summoned out of the extra deck, right? But let's say it was properly summoned. So then you could bring out Rampage, and using Rampage effect, you could send something like hers and a core. So then hers would trigger, you can add a Cyber Dragon from either deck, or Cyber Dragon Engrave, core, and all the baby Cyber Dragons are Cyber Dragon Engrave, so you could add this. Then you could normal summon the core. Now keep in mind, you cannot use its effect now because you already used its other effect this turn, and you can only use one of the two effects in the same turn. So don't cheat your opponent. So now you can link these two off, and you can go into Seeger, and now you can enter battle. And so this you can use Seeger's effect. I like to use Seeger's effect in the damage step. Not that anyone's playing something like Ghost Dog or anything, but you might as well play around it. And so I attack with Rampage, and in damage step I would use Seeger, pump Rampage to 42, and then this attacks 3 times, and typically that's game. Keep in mind guys, they will still take damage from Rampage, they just don't take damage from Seeger if you use its effect. And even when you attack directly, there is still a damage step, so you can still activate it there. And that's sort of an easy way to OTK as well. Alright guys, so that was it for the deck profile and a few key plays. Hope that was useful. As I said earlier, I would certainly appreciate it if you could check out my channel, Hakuna My Data, as well. If you're interested in playing the deck, I would recommend that you join the Cyber Dragon Facebook group, and also check out Team Set Pass and Yassine656 on YouTube for more Cyber Dragon content as well. Take care guys.